And they're like, well, do you like Miracle Whip? And he's like, no, I hate it. And for 50 years, he had been eating Miracle Whip instead of mayonnaise. She probably wouldn't have cared. In fact, she probably would have loved to give him the mayonnaise that he wanted, but he just never said it. The first thought when I think of compromise is why? What are we talking about? Why are we talking about compromise? And the idea in my mind is you, as an individual, can do things on your own. You can fly higher, faster, further, whatever, by yourself oftentimes. But if you want to share your life and your path with somebody else, that necessitates compromising on some things. If you want to share your life, your path, with another person who you respect as an intelligent and sentient person whose desires you respect, that's another reason you'd want to compromise. And it brings to mind an example of when I was overseas and had a heavy bag and was walking a long distance, carrying it between two people. So one person has one handle, the other person has the other handle. And I noticed that if our feet were not in sync, I'm a pretty fast walker. I like walking fast. And if our feet were not in sync, the bag would be shaking all over the place. But if we could step in sync, the bag was actually really, really smooth. You can go fast, you can try and go faster and have a bumpy, terrible ride, or you can take it easy and have a much smoother ride. That being said, even though it is good to slow down and to compromise, it is possible to compromise too much.
Too much or too little. In relationships, really finding that balance. So one person can slow down in the scenario of holding that bag, but also one person can speed up a little bit. And you need both to have that balance and for it to be a good experience for both people. And why does this matter in relationships? That is the biggest question, because like you said, if you want to spend your life with somebody else, it is a lot more interesting, but you have to be willing to make a conscious choice every day to slow down, to make these compromises, to find that balance. And today we just want to talk about some of our compromises and the principles that we've learned and what's helped us through some different times.
Yeah, and one of the things is, as much as you think that it's great, or maybe some people, yours truly included, might think it's great that they can go faster and further and higher and better by themselves, oftentimes compromise actually can force you to become a better person, because what you think is so great about yourself might actually be annoying, and you might have some blind spots that can be filled in. You allowing somebody else to influence you a little bit in your life.
I think that's really cool, to see your blind spots and to become a better person.
So what is compromise?
It's a little giving on both sides. So we're both making small adjustments to come to agreement that we both can be happy with. And it's not necessarily a 50-50, as we'll talk about, but ultimately both making small adjustments. What would you say is compromise?
I think one way that you could define compromise is, what's the difference between compromise versus sacrifice or even self-denial? I would say that compromise is not giving in all the time. Compromise is stating your thoughts, your desires, your opinions, and then taking that and taking what the other people have and putting it together and making something new. And if that new thing skews more towards one person or towards the other person, that's okay, but it's not 100% one person and 100% the other person. That's not compromise.
I definitely think there can be room for a little bit of self-sacrificing, but sacrificing on some desires. But I think that comes with understanding and perspectives, but I don't think it has to be detrimental.
What we've found, like sometimes compromise is more giving, sometimes it's more taking. There's the pattern of the hero, victim.
I just wanted to touch on it. I think it's really valuable for me to learn at one point these roles that we can play, where we may give in to a compromise, maybe give a little bit more, so we feel like we're playing the hero role. And then we start to feel like that was a little self-sacrificing, and we turn ourselves into the martyr. And then we feel like we keep giving in and we turn ourselves into the victim. And I think it's really good to be aware of that in order to ask oneself, am I compromising in a healthy way where I don't feel like I'm over-sacrificing or where I don't feel like I'm under sacrificing, because I think there's definitely a balance that could be had.
I just want to jump into some stories and things. And really the whole goal here is share what we've learned. We're not professionals on this, and even professionals, it's amazing once you get into it. They know some things, but that doesn't mean that they know everything and that everything that they say will apply to you. So this is what worked for us. This is what we have learned so far on our journeys, some experiences we've had, and we haven't figured everything out. So to start off, we are shockingly different for a married couple. Sometimes we sit back and we're very surprised that we like each other because we're so different. It's like when we first got married, we have very, very different standards of cleanliness. And so we come together, we get our first apartment. And I would say Megan focuses on clutter and
orderliness.
Basically any visible dirtiness / messiness is very painful for you.
So Joe, it's really big for him, smells. Like, actually, is it clean? He has a super sniffer, like Gus from Psych. Smells is really big for him, so it needs to be clean.
However, I don't care about messes. Like, I couldn't care less. I don't really care about clutter, like things being on countertops or even...
Yeah, the concept of putting things away.
Yeah.
Like one, that's not really something he does or prefers. And in fact, he does not like it when I put things away because he remembered where he put it last. So it was a point of frustration, I would say. So very early on, we realized a point of contention was just something that we both saw and interpreted differently. And our perspectives were completely different. I don't have a super sniffer. In fact, I would say my nose is not that great. So those things didn't bother me as much. And so we really had to compromise on what cleanliness looked like. Mm-hmm. And for me, I would say I feel like I probably gave a little bit more there, and I just had to let it go. Let go that you're not going to have a perfectly clean, pristine, orderly home, but the other things mattered more. Mm-hmm.
And something to point out is the principle that this kind of story as a personal life illustration, the principle that illustrates is that you truly do go through life experiencing everything differently than the people around you. And it's just really important to keep in mind, just like you have things that are a big deal to you, other people have different things that are a big deal to them. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to understand why it's a big deal to them, mm-hmm. but you just have to understand that if you want them to respect what's a big deal to you, you should respect what's a big deal to them, and at least talk about it and try to work together. There are a couple of thought questions that I would propose. Have you ever changed your perspective on something, or changed your opinion on, or a perspective on something, seen something from a different view, been like, oh, I never thought that a horror movie could be disturbing, but now I see that for victims of trauma, like it could be.
Well, and it can change too. My favorite dessert for the longest time was angel food cake and strawberries. And one time I got sick, threw it up, really didn't want to have it again for a very long time.
Yeah. So if you can picture every time you see something that you used to love and you just remember and feel like nauseous, it's like you might not love that thing. And so other people might
have those similar experiences. Yeah. They had their reasons why.
Okay, so story number 2, about compromising, things that we had to compromise on.
So early on when we were first married, we were active members of a church. And
we went to church fair.
It was important to me to be on time.
So something where we grew up a little bit different is Megan was really focused on getting places on time, whereas I was more focused on being chill and not being stressed about it. Mm-hmm. And so early on in marriage, she would get pretty upset at me lagging behind. Like if we're going to church or if we're going wherever, it doesn't matter, meeting up with somebody, she was just like...
And to be a little honest, he was quite lackadaisical. We'll get there when we get there.
I would be like up to 15 minutes late for an hour long thing. But from my perspective, I didn't want the stress. You didn't want to disrespect other people and stuff. But I thought that I was like, well, Megan's valuing the feelings of other people over the feelings of her husband and or children. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize I was really... Not only was I disrespecting other people and their time, but also modeling that for my kids, showing them that, hey, other people can wait for you. You can make other people wait for you. Mm-hmm. And that's not really a great thing. We had to come up with something, and I don't even remember when we came up with it, but it's the number system on preferences. It's like, how important is something to you? Every preference, every decision that we have to make, if there's even a little bit of disagreement or question about, do you want to do this? I don't know, what do you want to do thing? Then we have a number system.
So along the lines of cleanliness, Joe has a huge preference, and that is that dishes belong in one side of the sink. I don't care that much about it. I don't care one way or the other. What happened was I didn't care to do this thing, but this was a system he wanted to follow. And because of that, no change may happen. We learned early on. And so we discovered a number system. And what this number system is a scale of 1 through 10, how strongly you feel about something, with 10 being high. And tell your perspective.
There are many times in life with this sink thing. It could be anything. It could be, what do you want to eat for lunch, you know? And
which chore do you want to do?
And you might state a preference, but you don't really care. You just care a little bit. Well, in the absence of anybody else, I'd probably do this, but it doesn't really matter. But it's difficult to say that, and it's a lot of words. So we came up with a system where 5 is completely neutral, I don't care at all. And 5 is pretty much off limits.
Yeah,
and then
you do have
10 is lean. I will die if it doesn't happen. And 0 is I will die if it does happen. Anything below a 5 is negative. Anything above a 5 is a positive. And so we have this system, and we say, what do you want? And so she'll say, you know, oh, I'm a 6 on hamburgers, and I'll be like 8 on Thai food or pizza or something like that. And then we're like, great. That sounds good to me. And if she's assuming, okay, so let's say I'm an 8 on Thai food. If she's not like a 2 on Thai food, if she's well, I'm a 4 on Thai food, then that means I care more about getting Thai food than she cares about burgers, and she isn't super against Thai food. And so let's do it. Or maybe she's a 6 or 7 on Thai food, but a 6 on burgers or whatever, you know. So the point being, it gives us a way to say how strong our feelings are. And now you have to be honest. You can't game this system. If you do, the system breaks. You can't rely on it. And so going back to the sink analogy, I am like a 9.5 on not having dishes in the side of the sink with the garbage disposal.
There's two reasons.
So number 1, something will always inevitably fall into the garbage disposal, and then the next time you use it, it gets all chomped up. Well, number 2 is when you do have a double sink, you want to actually be able to use one side of the sink. If you have both sides of the sink full of dishes and you try to fill up a cup or you try to wash something real quick, you can't do it. But we use the number system, and guess what? That's what you're talking about. I'm like, dude, this is really important to me. It bothers me a lot. Plus, if you fill up both sides of the sink, you're almost always going to have smelly, disgusting dishes because they're way down on the bottom and there's some smell of cottage cheese molding and it's gross. And so, Megan, I don't know what number you were on that, but you weren't a strong negative number on it. And so that was great. That let us figure out a way to compromise together. In this case, I got my way, but
I didn't realize how important it was to him without the number system. So the number system really helped me know, oh, this is strong for him. This isn't just a tiny request where it's causing me an inconvenience, because I was probably a 4. I didn't want to do it, maybe even a 3, because it takes action from me. So knowing that he was such a high number, that was really helpful for me.
And this brings us to, so there's the number system, which we talked about, but then we said 10 and 0 are basically off limits, because those are ultimatums. Those are, you must do this or you must not do this. What role would you say that ultimatums have in relationships?
I would say this is where your preference has now crossed into your values, your boundaries, feeling. Yeah, it's really a hard line boundary that you're not comfortable crossing. That's where your 10 comes in. And so utilizing that, you really need to save that for those times, because I think those become unfair if overused.
Yeah, they should be pretty rare. And I would suggest that in general, if you have a lot of disconnects on these ultimatums, you might not be fully compatible with each other if it's really true.
Because compromise, it is about being flexible. It's about choosing this relationship over me just being a singular person. So if I'm choosing this over this, I do have to be flexible. I do have to give and take. So me drawing up ultimatums is me choosing to be less flexible.
Yeah. But on that line, we do change throughout life. Like, we've noticed that.
Yeah.
And it is okay to be a little bit patient with an ultimatum too. It's like living overseas. That was an extremely important thing for me in my life. But we have kids and we have a lot of things. I had to, and I'm honestly grateful that at the time it was not easy for me. This is something that I wish I would have learned and done better. But I think it was actually good that I was kind of forced, but also that we were more patient and took a slower route. It worked out okay in the end for me to not just shove the whole family overseas and be like, we're going to deal with everything. We took our time, we took multiple trips, we did things. And you can say, hey, look, this is extremely important to me in life, but I'm okay if you're not there yet.
And I got to dip my toe. It's a big thing. Some things are going to be bigger. Some compromises will be bigger. And so asking for a little understanding both ways is helpful.
And especially if you're already, there are some things that you realize are really important to you after you're already in the relationship, after you've established things. I mean, we left a church and our values haven't changed that much, but the specifics of it, will we ever drink alcohol? Will we ever, whatever? There's these things that have changed from I never swore, ever.
Expectations definitely changed.
As you change throughout life, you can be patient with each other, even if you're like, hey, I do have to tell you, this is a 10 for me, but you can also get creative and say, okay, how can you get this? Does it have to be a together thing? Does it have to, if I must scuba dive or I must squirrel suit jump or base jump or just something, I have to live in a city. And the other person's like, I have to live in a countryside. Okay, can you split your time? Can you do a little bit here and there? Can you take vacations? Is that going to be good enough for a while?
Yeah.
And I think the last part about that is just to remember that ask yourself, which of your strong desires, aka your ultimatums, are more important than your partner's strong desires, aka ultimatums. Because at the end of the day, other than breathing and having water and stuff, there's not a lot that is really a need for you. And people say, I have needs, and it's most of the time, those are wants, those are preferences.
Yeah, first world desires.
Yeah, first world problems. So it's okay to chill for a little bit. I think flexibility is the key.
Yeah,
having fewer ultimatums.
One of our biggest compromises is the traveling. So Joe always has wanted to travel, be a little bit more adventurous. I had envisioned more white picket fence, living in the same area, but I did want adventure, so I was open to a lot. I love experiences, but I like comfort and consistency too. So this has been a big compromise in our relationship.
Yeah. And honestly, the principle here, just like the number system, is something that we use. The other part, not everything's going to fit in the number system, and you just have to communicate, and you have to communicate a lot. There is something which is digging down to the real why, the real reason behind why you want something.
Yeah.
It's actually fascinating. I just think of the example, because I like cars. It's if you really, really want some fancy, fast car, a sports car, Tesla, whatever car that you want, what is it that you want to get out of having that car? Is it that you want a car that starts every time you get in and doesn't break down all the time? Is it that you want a car that looks cool because you want other people to think that you look cool? Do you want other people to think that you're rich? Do you want to drive fast all the time? Do you want comfort or some type of feature that a particular car has that other cars don't? Like full self-driving. I honestly think that would be amazing to just get in, push a button and be like, drive me there. And like, it just drives you. This can apply to almost anything that you want. When you have things like where to live, me wanting to travel and you wanting to be in one place, you wanted to be able to like host people. You wanted to have a house, and you wanted to have friends and relationships and stuff, like long-term relationships. I wanted our kids to have perspective and realize they don't have to have expensive, fancy, nice things in order to be happy. Plus, I just think it's interesting, and I love the foods and the other things like that, and I don't want to ever get stagnant in life. But
well, hold on. So one of the reasons why the white picket fence, it was about relationships. It was about having fun toys, but it was about making memories with those people and having adventures. So really, both of our whys about an interesting life and adventures and meeting interesting people were actually the same thing. We just were going about how we were going to get them in a different way. So it was really nice to uncover our whys because we really were aligned there, and the compromise became a lot easier.
I love that you brought that up, because that is absolutely true. And it was nice, even though we had so much conflict over where to live and what type of house to have and how to live. Once we dug, for a while it felt hopeless, and it felt like we are not aligned. We can't be together because we want such different things.
Yeah.
And then we realized, no, actually, the core of what we want is the same, but it's just a different flavor of it. We both wanted pizza, but she wanted pepperoni and I wanted mushrooms. Like,
I thought to bake it in a fire,
yeah,
you thought
exactly.
to bake it in an oven.
Exactly, like how to get the pizza.
But
yeah,
it's the
but
same.
we both wanted the pepperoni pizza. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a better example. Yeah, that was, but also, it does two things. Sometimes it helps you realize that you are more aligned than you think, but also,
Yeah.
if you can say, well, what I really want is friends, then you're like, great. How can we get you friends
While
we
traveling.
travel?
Yeah.
And by the way, we've been traveling for 3 weeks and we've made some good friends already. Yeah. So anyways, the point is, in many aspects of life, you can get what you want in a different way than you expected.
And as
that's pretty
you
cool.
compromise and you identify your why behind it, it also allows you to become more aligned, which was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So we're talking about compromise and numbers and equality or fairness and this and that. Life, and this is illustrated in almost everything in life. If you think about day and night and the tides and the waves and the seasons and all that stuff, life is always an ebb and flow.
Mm-hmm. It's not always 50-50.
Yeah. When you compromise, just remember, the goal is not to always find the perfect middle ground where you get half of what you want and I get half of what I want. A lot of the times you can get 80 to 90% of what you want when you compromise, which is pretty cool. But sometimes she gets more, sometimes I get more. Mm-hmm. And that is okay.
And it's kind of the same with work. Sometimes you feel like I'm giving 80%, he's only giving 20, but first of all, you don't see everything they do. So you really should always be doing more than 50, and they're always going to feel like they're doing more than 50, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But with this ebb and flow, there's going to be times that you're going to give more, and there's going to be times when you're going to take more. Recently, one of my favorite memories, I had surgery, and Joe had to take care of me, and it was beautiful. One, I stepped back. He got to take on this provider role really strong for me, and we got really close, but I could not do very much. And so I wasn't pulling my weight. I wasn't doing my 50%, but it was okay. And there's going to be times when I'm doing more.
And I honestly liked that. It was wonderful because then I felt like I could serve her. It made me feel like a husband. It made me feel like I could give back. And it's like, if you always feel like maybe you're constantly giving maybe 60%, I don't think anybody should feel like I'm giving 90% or 100% at all times. And the other person
10.
is the 10 or the 0. But if you always feel like you're giving a little bit more than your share and the other person is too, that's beautiful. Because, by always, I mean on average, because actually that's the point, is that you're not going to always feel it. It is an up and down. And sometimes it's about the giving, but it's also about the compromising. Sometimes I get a little bit more of what I want. Sometimes you get a little bit more of what you want.
Sometimes it's that time of month, and so the number system with food, I'm going to be a 9 on everything.
And we're not, and if you keep score about it, you sort of just have to be willing to allow it to be a little bit messy. Like another way to think about it is if you're whitewater rafting or if you're mountain biking downhill, plot a general track, but you're not like, I must stay in this exact line. You're like, no, I'm going down the river, it's fine. Sometimes I'm closer to the bank, sometimes I'm in the middle, it's fine. Yeah.
We do love the quote though. You shouldn't have to set yourself on fire to keep the other person warm though. So there definitely is a balance. There are going to be unhealthy relationships out there where one person is taking a lot more, where one person is not giving back. And so it's important to recognize those. If you're in that kind of relationship.
Well, no, for us, it's really important for us to recognize when.
And there's been times, honestly, where we have either called each other out or we've just named it what it is. Hey, you're being extra needy or a little bit extra bossy right now. We have certain words that we say that allow us to bring it to surface, let's just say.
But we're working on that constantly.
Yeah, we are. And I think it is important to know, though, your compromise shouldn't feel like you're losing who you are, your sense of self, where you're keeping that score, where you just always feel like you're giving up everything you want. If it starts to feel that way, you might need to take a step back and ask yourself, talk about it, ask if it's actually a compromise, because it's not a compromise if you continue to self-sacrifice.
And your partner doesn't always know. It's okay if you feel like that for a day or a couple of days or occasionally. But if you're like, dude, I'm feeling like I'm doing all of this and you're not doing as much, like you can have that conversation. It's not an easy conversation to have, Okay, and there are conversational tools that you can use to bring up difficult things. But yeah, you should talk about those things because the other person might not know. And if your partner loves you, they don't want you to feel that way. There was a quick story about this one old married couple. And they were like grandparents and the wife died. And so the dad went and lived with a family. These are family friends of mine. And when the dad got to the family, like to live with his kids, he was like, oh, mayonnaise. I haven't had mayonnaise for 50 years. And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, my wife always got Miracle Whip. And they're like, well, do you like Miracle Whip? And he's like, no, I hate it. And for 50 years, he had been eating Miracle Whip instead of mayonnaise. She probably wouldn't have cared. In fact, she probably would have loved to give him the mayonnaise that he wanted, but he just never said it and just gritted his teeth and ate Miracle Whip for 50 years.
And sometimes when you do feel like you're giving more, I think it's healthy to step back and say, hey, what are some times in which my partner showed up and gave more than his fair share? What are some times when I showed up and gave more than my fair share? It's healthy to have those ebbs and flows. It's healthy to give a little more, and it's healthy to have a healthy perspective on it. To intentionally say, I'm gonna get you your mayonnaise because that's what you want. That's important to me for you to have what you want.
And it's really important. I think one of the biggest things that we've had to realize is looking back, it's okay to realize that you may have been giving too much. It's okay to realize, dude, I have not been being true to myself, maybe for a long time, but you, as a human being, you can never go back. So it's important to realize that once you wake up to that, maybe it's been a couple of months and all of a sudden you're like, okay, no, this is a consistent thing. I have been feeling bad. Once you wake up to that, you can't change the past. You might mourn some things that you lost and it might hurt, but even if as much as your partner loves you, they can't go back and change what has happened, and you can't either. So the only thing you can do is say, okay, I'm realizing this now, and this is now, we need to make a change.
Yeah.
So we need to swing the pendulum the other direction. And if you love each other, you can work on it. Yeah.
So some of our biggest core realizations about compromise.
Wrapping up now? Yep. Okay.
So some of our core realizations about compromise. One, we all experience life differently and have different perspectives.
Number two, although we all have preferences on things, they're not always the strongest. So it's okay to say I'm a 6 on something and somebody else is an 8, and they get their way because they were an 8 on that thing.
Number three, we can sometimes get what we wanted in a different way than we had originally thought, especially when we think to why it is that we want that thing when we compromise.
Yeah. And number 4, you will go through cycles. It's not always going to be 50-50. And so be okay with that. And when it starts to talk about it, when it starts to feel too imbalanced, but don't be upset if one day it's a little bit imbalanced or something.
And at the end of the day, we have made a lot of mistakes. We know we're not always getting it perfectly right, but these were just some of the principles and tools that we've used to help us in our compromises.
And I will just say, in addition to you saying that we haven't always got it perfectly right, there is no perfectly right. You are creating your life together at all times. You're not even supposed to get it perfect. So don't be worried about that. Just keep going, keep working on it, and keep adjusting.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, the moment we think we got it, it changes.
We change, yeah.
So we got to figure out a new way and new tools to help us.
Yep.